This is Get Informed with Wajeeh. I'm Wajeeh Lion. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I appreciate your patience. I was just setting up, after 1 hour of sitting down, you need to freshen up a little bit. All right. I do have some talking points today to start with. One thing is clear is no longer safe in the U.S. to speak your mind. So there might be a change of location specifically for that reason. If I get to, even though I'm legal here and I have all the paperwork I need, if I get basically deported to Saudi Arabia, I will be executed. So, long story short, thinking about a different location than the United States, mostly up north, but we'll see. You trying to go out, Malcolm? Here, baby. Come here. Good boy. Sorry about that. Um, so today I published an in-depth article about the Trump's deals with the Saudi government and the Middle East and how they have incorporated America's foreign policy to becoming their own piggy bank for whatever they want to achieve. So we have witnessed an unprecedented merger of the American foreign policy with the private financial ambition of Trump's family, specifically Jared Kushner, Don Jr., and Eric Trump. Because they hold no official government title, they operate entirely outside federal financial disclosure laws and the Foreign Agent Resignation Act, Registration Act, sorry. They're acting as an unofficial envoy while managing multi-billion-dollar portfolio funded almost entirely by sovereign wealth funds, creating profound conflict of interest. Kushner private equity firm, Affinity Partners, managed over $6.1 billion. Approximately 99% of that was funded entirely by foreign governments like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Despite Middle Eastern media saying that they've had about 25% return, U.S. Senate investigation revealed that the firm has generated a 0% return on investments and distributed no earnings to their investors. Why could you speak in a little plain language so I could understand? Yes. So Jared Kushner went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, and asked them to pay him money to his company as investment. But that was a bribe. How is that a bribe, Waji? Well, When you are supposed to be investing in a company as a foreign investment fund, financial investment fund, like the Saudi government, you're expecting some sort of return for your fund. By the end of the day, that's your money. Well, when the return on my investment is automatically zero, even though you're still making profit, then that's a bribe. We're not talking about 1 billion or 2 billion. We're talking about 6.1 billion. Even with zero return, Affinity has exceeded an estimate of 157 million in management fees in just 3 years. 87 million just from Saudi Arabia. So what I'm trying to say is, in addition to the money that the Saudi Financial Investment Fund has paid them, they have charged the Saudi government fees for their services. These fees go up to $157 million. 87 of that is from Saudi Arabia. The investment agreement that they have not gotten any return on in the past 8 years, yeah, almost 8 years from the first Trump administration, more than 8 years. Yeah, no, about 8 years. Yeah. So the agreement ends in this year. This year's of August. So imagine I come to you and I invest in your company and I have not gotten anything back. And the agreement ends in 2 months, 3 months, few months. I have not received $1. And I've paid 99% of the investment. Question mark. So why is the Trump family doing this? Why is Jared Kushner doing this? Because if you give that money directly to Trump, that money goes to the US government, doesn't go to Trump's pocket. Let me explain more. Jared Kushner is brokering a back channel negotiation regarding the Iran conflict operating outside official US diplomatic channels. He's trying to out the funds from the Middle East while his personal wealth is almost entirely dependent on the financial partners that he has established in the region. So I'm paying you money and you are sent to negotiate peace treaty with Iran. And I have bad relationship with Iran. I'm Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner is the United States. And here's Iran. Me, Saudi Arabia, pay Jared Kushner a lot of money. Jared Kushner is going to do peace talks with Pakistan, Iran, and the United States on behalf of the United States. Well, Saudi Arabia has bad relationships with Iran. Isn't that a conflict of interest? When I'm paying you money And I have bad relationship with the Iranians. Why are you going to negotiate with the Iranians? Isn't it to put my interests first and to put the Israeli interests first? It's not going to put America first. That's for sure. Reports indicate meeting with Russian envoy in Miami, suggesting complex trade-offs. So while Trump is not meeting directly with the Russians, Kushner and the rest of the Trump family are meeting with the Russians, making a business deal. Hold on, YG. What are you talking about? Yeah, good business deal. Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. Yeah, 101. So the administration has banned foreign commercial drones like China's DJI, which is a very good drone. That's why you stop seeing them in most of US stores, being sold out. You have to buy it online directly from their store, get it shipped from abroad, starving the domestic market. Right before the Pentagon has announced $1.1 billion drone procurement program. Guess where that program is going? Have you guessed yet? Immediately following the policy shift, Don Jr. and Eric Trump secured equity in a Powers Corporation and automation drone manufacturing, positioning themselves to directly profit the administration new policies. So they knew that the United States was about to go and buy only drones from American company. What does Jared Kushner and Eric Jr. And Don Jr. Eric Trump and Don Jr. do? They go and buy a large piece of the company the United States is planning to do a business deal with. Isn't that insider trading? Or maybe worse. They're literally going to war so their stocks for the company go high. This is not just out of nowhere. This is by design. During the Pentagon testing, Wallet, the American system, included those backed by the family network, sourced significantly lower than the battlefield. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever not Jared, Trump uh, Jr. and his brother Eric Trump, they made a very bad plane that the competition from our allies make way better for the same price, maybe cheaper, even cheaper. So instead of us buying the more reliable drones, the cheaper drones, the ones that we can rely on protecting our soldiers and attacking our enemy, we're relying on more expensive drones that do less for the money. And when tested, many of the drones have failed. They know that. And many of the drones have failed in this war as well. And the Iranians were able to capture them and take them. And unfortunately, these drones have AI technology and higher sensors than what the Iranians have, and now they have access to it. And I have said that the US government military Achilles heel is not the soldiers, it's not the equipment, it's the corruption in our manufacturing military industry where people take part in owning large part of corporations that depend on going to war to make profit. And out of that, they go for it. There's only a handful of billion millionaires that enjoyed the money during World War One and World War Two, and those are manufacturers of weapons. There's only people have benefited from the Vietnam War, where the United States and most of its younger kids to get killed on the battlefield without knowing why or for whom, and now they have a memorial in Washington D.C. and every state honoring these killed because they happened everywhere. Guess who benefited? Just a few. Same thing in Iraq. Same thing in Afghanistan. Same thing is happening now. You're not benefiting, you're just paying for it, and you don't have the money to pay for it. In fact, your last year GDP, your debt was higher than your last whole year GDP. Can we slow down a little bit? We're borrowing money to go to war, money that we don't have. France just pulled out all of their gold stockpile out of the U.S. Reserve. Countries are pulling out their stockpiles. They're saving it now in their countries because they don't see a stable future for their economy, and they need the gold. So, Trump Media and Technology Group is using its valuation to acquire high risk assets like K technology, nuclear fusion, without any legal obligations to actually build the promised tech. What does that mean, YG? So that means that Trump is creating companies, and after he creates that company, he gives it a contract, and it never completes the contract. It just takes the contract, takes the money, and keeps it. And one of those is the TAE. TAE stands for I don't know what it stands for, but TAE technology, nuclear fusion. And they took essentially like the contract, but never built the promised tech. I don't know. Just days before the inauguration, the United Arab Emirates has invested or bought 500 million stocks in Trump owned World Liberty Financial. Should I repeat that again? Maybe anyone that should run for office should open their own company from now on. Anyone that runs for office will start opening their own company. Anytime you see someone running for office or opening their own company, maybe you have a question mark. Well, have you also noticed in Missouri and in Kansas and so many other states that the DMV is not run by the state, is leased out to a private company? Did you notice that? Did you know how that happened? I can explain to you how that happened. It's very easy. I have a company. I go and I support the candidate that's running for governor. And after I support this candidate that's running for governor, I make him promise me to lease me the services of the DMV, not for the whole state, just for this location. So instead of the state hiring its own people to do the work that it's supposed to, now because this motherfucker donated some money to a campaign, the governor feels obligated to give this person the right to lease the services of the DMV. This is happening in the US. You don't even need to go to the federal government. It happens in other services as well. Pay attention to what's happening from your governors. Democrats or Republicans, it doesn't matter. It's happening. I used to do voter education for the November ballot. And he used to do campaigning where we teach people about what's happening for the election. And before that, I was working on a constitutional campaign in Missouri with Missouri Jobs with Justice, where we fought to raise the minimum wage in the state of Missouri and fought against the right to work, which is a law that is targeting toward unions to bankrupt them. And I have seen the efforts that is done by governments and done, and I stood outside of the DMV that is leased by private agency, and they called the cops on us because we were collecting signatures for people to say, "Do you want to increase the minimum wage?" Of course, the cops couldn't do anything because it's we were outside, we were on public property. But because they are a private leasing office, because they are a private company that's doing your government work, you can't even stand on your government property and collect signatures to say, do you want to raise the minimum wage in Missouri? Sorry, I went off outside the topic. The Qatari government, the royal family gifted Trump $400 million customized Boeing 747. This is only his second term. I still haven't gotten to his first term. Now that plane is valued for $1 billion from seven. It used to be 400, but for some reason, oh, sorry, the Air Force. It would cost the Air Force $1 billion to serve this as Air Force One. So to convert that plane to Air Force One, they would cost them at least $1 billion. So instead of converting it to Air Force One, they decided to gift it to the Trump Library. So by the end, Trump kept the plane for himself. And I said this the other day. Isn't it sad that we haven't kept that plane to find because uh, I, the United States has so many individuals who have been kidnapped and held hostages across the world. And a lot of times when they get picked up from these countries, they get picked up in a cheap plane or a small private plane or a military plane. And I said, would it not have been amazing if we had a plane like this that had been customized for hospitality and has been customized to pamper this person and customized to maybe have a hospital in there, customized to have their own room and shower and have a medical team on board to welcome these hostages into a very nice space so they can have at least a good welcome to their nation, I think that would be a good use. Use that plane for humanitarian causes. Why are you putting the plane in your own library? What is the library going to do with the goddamn plane? Transfer books? What is the library doing with the plane? Someone tell me. I never heard the library in the world has a plane. The end game, the zero sum game, is that the Gulf states overpay for private equity yield for 0%, meaning the Gulf states are willing to pay these astronomical numbers with zero yield, meaning with zero return, because it functions as a highly effective unofficial procurement fee. What is a procurement fee? It's a bribe. To guarantee favorable U.S. foreign policy, such as getting weapons, tech export, diplomatic cover, and both the foreign government and the Trump family wins. Why is this working so well? Because as soon as Trump went to his visit to Saudi Arabia, and as soon as Saudi Arabia promised big investments in the United States promised to ship our most our most secure, most highly classified chips that is used for AI and used for missiles and used for high technology that we don't have want China to have is now all being sold to Saudi government. The F-15, the F-35 that every president has denied to sell to Saudi Arabia and to other GCC nations. Trump all of a sudden says, "Okay, baby, Habibi, you're my friend. Of course, I approve you. I approve you, my friend." So that's the reality on the ground, my friends. We have shut down US aid, one of the best tools the US government has created as a soft power to influence foreign policy, to be part of peace talks, to be a voice of reason, to calm situations down. And it was used by the CIA largely for intelligence. All of a sudden now, we have shut down one of the best US sources in its history. Make it make sense. Please make it make sense. They said they don't want to give aids to other countries. Well, what do you think that those aids do when we send them to other countries? You think they don't have the US logo on it? You don't think it says in their language, this is a gift from the United States. We love you. Don't you think it creates some sort of pro American sentiment across the world that you constantly are fighting against? You don't think, you don't think, you don't think, you don't think. Okay, guys, I will go to the group chat. You know the drill. If you have any questions, please go to my group chat and paste your questions on there. I'm gonna post the um Let me post. I haven't posted it on the group chat. Oh wow. Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? Anyways, if you could just post your questions in the group chat, I'd appreciate it. Love the Rumi mug. Very Sufi of you. Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate you. Let's see. I don't see any questions so far. Let's see if you guys have questions on here. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a minute to write your questions because I know it takes a minute to write a question, especially good ones. What is the status in Jordan? If there is anything going on in Jordan, it would be most likely holding the airborne or special uh, like Delta forces or the Navy SEALs. They would be either in Jordan or Israel bases, secret bases. I think that's what they have mostly. The Jordanian king is trying has been asked to step down by the general tribes of Jordan and has asked that for his brother to step up as the next king. So there's some turmoil happening inside of Jordan, and it's mostly about the Jordanian king's opinion or decision making regarding the U.S. Israel war on Iran and other factors. So that's a good question about the status of Jordan. There's a lot of question marks. I did share an article a day or two ago that was written by a professor. I think she did an amazing job explaining what's happening. I did share that on on my feed here on Substack. Someone says before the question goes, what threat have you received? The reality on the ground, my friend, is that the U.S. Government can evoke people's green card, evoke people's asylum, and especially from the um, executive branch and anything from the executive branch. And it would complicate my situation. I have a lot of medical needs. I have a couple surgeries. I have 10 surgeries just on my right wrist and stuff. So having all of that complications, getting arrested, being sent back home just doesn't sound like a good idea. Especially that I already have a death penalty in the US, and especially that I am criticizing Trump. So just the fact that those all exist together, I don't necessarily feel safe speaking my mind in the US, which is very weird to say. I never thought I would say that about the United States. But I get to apply for my citizenship here in August. So I at least need to stay in Canada and then apply for my citizenship there or something. I don't know. But I'll keep you guys posted. And I just figure I'd keep you guys engaged about what's going on. Oh yeah. What other questions? Be careful. Thank you. Saudi. What would the Saudi do if they feel they aren't getting an appropriate return for they're not expecting a return from their investment. The whole point of the investment is a bribe. That was my point of explaining the whole thing. The reason the Jared Kushner has his own company, The reason it's an investment company, the reason there's zero return, the reason they're not expecting anything back, the reason it's ending back in this August in 2026, all tell us that it is a bribe, not a investment. What is the outlook of the US bases being built in UAE? I think that is gonna take a minute. Why is it gonna take a minute with G? Because they're reassessing the fact that US bases should be on there to begin with, because they thought that the US bases would protect them from the Iranian government, but apparently that wasn't good of a deterrent. And when they were attacked by the Iranian governments, the US did not show up to protect them. I tried to make the articles very informative and very easy to understand. Yes. No, I have a death penalty in Saudi Arabia, not in the US. I don't think a security detail would make a difference. Of course, it would make a difference from, regular people on the street, but they wouldn't be able to stop the American government. I genuinely need to go to Canada and apply for asylum there, but I have a surgery on the 22nd, so I want to take care of that and figure out how I'm gonna apply for asylum in the meantime. What will China do regarding the Middle East? They're going to be definitely convinced to build a pipeline with the Silk Road. So I don't know if you know this. China has been working on something called the Silk Road, following the historical Silk Road of China, where they go around all of Asia into the Middle East, all the way to Africa and Europe. And that I could see definitely some sort of oil pipeline being connected to that in the future. Uh, of course, they don't. The Iranian government doesn't approve of Kushner. Awesome. So there's some questions here. What Saudi long game? What's the Saudi long game? The Saudi long game is to become the dominant power in the region. They want to say that all negotiations and peace talks will happen in Riyadh, only in Riyadh, and that's their goal, that's their dream. In the past, now I think they just want to become, a good economic power and rebuild everything that was destroyed. What will they do if the Trump is removed? Easy, they will start working with the next party, with the next team. The Saudis are very pragmatic that way. They will the Malcolm continue to say, it's like the camel soup. They will, as long as they see you as a customer, they will treat you as a customer. Is China supplying Iran with arms defenses, which they have denied doing? I think there is some sort of supplies from China to Iran. I just don't know exactly what they are because they are confidential, and I haven't got to my hand on any of that information yet. But China, I did see at one point that there was a report. China said if the U.S. was going to invade Iran, that they would supply Iran with more supplies like weapons and stuff. uh, ballistic missiles mostly. I speak Arabic and 10 dialects and English. Someone is asking what languages I speak. I know how to say hello and hi and stuff like that in different languages. It's kind of fun. Other questions. Other questions. What is the deal with the Saudi government cutting the live gold from their sovereign wealth fund? Because they are being under attack and they're under war, and they have paused or stopped, like, you know, put a pause on something or ended the many financial projects. I think the Saudi government, even before they get to this war, they were biting more than they could chew. And because they were biting more than they could chew and got to a situation where they're forced to focus on economic stability, where they're forced to pay attention to uh, national defense, the priority of the government has shifted dramatically to from investing in public opinion and investing in uh, yeah, financial investments. I said yesterday that a lot of the sport teams that Saudi Arabia has invested in was not invested necessarily for financial investments. We all know that most of sports teams do not make profit. They actually take away money from cities and take away money from your own pocket. And they understand the power of owning sport teams because people worship sports in the West, and they understand that logic very well. And they understand that as soon as someone like myself go on television or go on radio or on a podcast and criticize their human rights violations, I have destroyed all the billions of dollars they have invested in all these uh, public relations firms to fix their image, especially after the execution of Jamal Khashoggi. Now that public opinion doesn't matter as much. So that money is worth somewhere else spending. Hope that answers the question. Um, Someone's saying, are there any regrets from the Saudis about the deals they have made with Trump Kushner, or could they have just flushed them when they want? There's mixed feelings because they expected that money that they have spent to be, put in priority. So when they were attacked, they were expecting the United States to step in right away and protect them, use their ships in the region to intercept the Iranian missiles and intercept the Iranian drones. But they saw the U.S. being involved in protecting Israel. That's not investing as much in the Trump family as they are. And they felt like they were being sidelined even though they paid all that money. Now that we are all the way in this situation, they don't want the Trump administration. Some of the Gulf countries like Qatar, it's like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they want to see this war end, but with the end of the Iranian capabilities of shooting any ballistic missiles or having any military power. So Trump, after they said that, said, "Well, then you guys should pay for this war." And all of a sudden, the Saudis and the GCC is like, "We didn't tell you to go to war." So there's a lot of things going on. Um, People who weren't advocating for the war now advocating for the war, except for Oman. They are very extremely against the war. They have not been for the war since the beginning. No, the trust between the United States and the Iranians have crippled. There is no more trust. And Iran said in their peace negotiations with the United States, if they want a treaty or if they want a solution, show us that we can trust you. But you have not showed us that we can trust you. Therefore, we are not in a situation where we can make a deal with you. Someone asked me what's the situation in the Saudi negotiation. What's the Saudi role in the peace talks in this negotiation? And my answer to that is that the Prime Minister of Pakistan is visiting the GCC nations. Yesterday, he was in Saudi Arabia in the second holiest city in Medina. He was doing some uh, um, religious not religious requirement. He's doing his religious duty, visiting the Prophet, praying for peace, praying for prosperity, praying to the end of the war, and talking to the Saudis, of course, most importantly, about what they want from this peace talk, because the Saudis are involved indirectly. The GCC is involved indirectly because they have a big stake in the game, but they don't want to be the peace negotiators. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Questions. When we change leadership in this country, do you think I already answered that? How much in percentage terms of Iran decision making regarding peace talks is driven by religious doctrine versus the end decision regarding the peace talk goes to the supreme leader. End of point. The supreme leader is the final voice on the peace talk. Everyone can negotiate. Everyone can hash out the details. But the last call, the one that's like putting the stamp on that, is the supreme leader. The supreme leader can remove everyone from power and put anyone that he wants in power. Let's put it like that. The whole GCC, as the question goes, do you believe Dubai is being seen different after this attack about being safe? And the whole region is viewed as not safe anymore. I was talking to someone yesterday and I was telling him, yeah, we were talking about watches because I love collecting watches. And he was like, oh yeah, I like this luxury watch. I'm like, if you want to buy a watch, there's this place in UAE called Luxury Souk. They have any and all watches that you want. He goes, yeah, I don't think I'm going there anytime soon. I can't blame him. He would go there and get stuck. Andrew Tate went there and was like, "Oh, look, everything is safe," and he got stuck. He had to pay bribes to someone to sneak him out of the country, smuggle him out the country. Um, so they have invested so much in being safe and secure, but a lot of people don't feel safe and secure, so they started leaving the country, and that is destroying the UAE economy. Any other question? If the next president went on an apology tour, and made an unofficial apology. If someone is asking, in other words, it doesn't matter who the American president is, we're fucked. No. There is a solution to this. But you're not gonna like the next president is not gonna like it. They will have to go on an apology tour. They have to officially apologize to the Iranians for the uh, military coup that we have done to replace the democratically elected official with the Shah. We have to apologize for the attack that we have done on their nation. You have to give something in order for them to say, "Okay, let's build that relationship back." You have to give in. Mario Wajeeh has a Q&A from yesterday. Yes, I do have a Q&A about the Shia Sunni conflict. I don't know if it was the day yesterday or the day. No, it was not yesterday. I think it was uh 2 days ago. Well, the day I published the article, or the day after I published the article, is the day I talked about it. Let's go back here. I don't see any other questions. Let's look in here. Any other? What are the changes of chances of terrorist attack in the U.S. before Trump leaves office? I don't like to think about that, but if Trump goes all out, the Iranians might go all out, and I will leave it out at that. I don't think the Iranians won't take revenge if the U.S. went all out on them. I think. Do I think any woman were involved in negotiating things? I don't know. I haven't looked at the U.S. roster. Iran hasn't sent any woman for sure, but the U.S. Have not seen them send any woman. I think if they have sent anyone other than the three who are specialized in U.S. Iranian relations, would have been way better. The fact that he sent J.D. Vance, who has no foreign relations experience, sent Jared Kushner, who's solely focused on Saudi Arabia and Israel, and what's the other guy's name? Who is a Trump hawkish guy? I forgot. These are all guys now looking for America first. They're looking for Trump first or other countries first. Do I think if they would listen to a woman, I think they would like to negotiate anyone other than Trump. Actually, no. The Iranians would love to negotiate with Trump because he's so stupid. Witkoff, that's right. What is the available for information on the new Ayatollah, his view? Is he more Yes, he is more conservative than his father. He's very close to the IRGC and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard as well. He's very close to them. Um, and I believe he lost a leg, so he's currently recovering from that. He has made public statement, but not appeared in public in person. The U.S. See any other question? Other question. Think that's all. Thank you all for coming in. I appreciate you tuning in and listening to what I have to say. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you're seeing this on YouTube, you are watching a recording playing on. Also, like, subscribe, and share on there, please. If you are able to become a paid subscriber, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. If you cannot become a paid subscriber, DM me and my or message me on Substack with the email associated to your account, and I will happily give you a membership on the house. The membership helps me take care of my bills and maybe move to Canada and stuff. Um, and your support is very well needed and appreciated. You guys have been amazing, supporting me everywhere on social media, so especially on Substack. We've been on the top 10 last week, 2 weeks ago. In the last 2 weeks, I've been in the top five, top three, and top four. So you guys, that's all your work, that's all your support. So without you, we wouldn't be here. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this work. I would be doing this work. I wouldn't be getting paid for it. Um, that's why we moved away from, basically moved away from X. Very toxic, situation. I didn't feel like, there was much people wanting to, there's plenty of people who want to learn, but the trolls are just way too many for you to operate the way you need. So yeah, that's what will happen. Thank you again. And I have a famous saying that I always like to end it in Arabic with. مع السلامة, bye bye, وبالإنجليزي goodbye means with peace, goodbye, and English, goodbye. We'll see you later.